welcome back to the WellZest Podcast. You are in for an absolute delight today because I have Josh Carr, who is the CEO of Echo, and he is just literally an innovator in the industry and pioneering the industry. So I'm so excited to have Josh with us. Josh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Josh is literally a maverick. I'm going to read your bio, Josh, because I don't want to miss a beat of all the incredible things that you've done. So Josh Carr is the Chief Executive Officer of Echo, a pioneering company at the forefront of hydrogen-enriched hydration technology. Under his leadership, Echo Water has experienced remarkable growth, expanding its reach to major U.S. retailers such as Walmart, Shields, The Swell Score, Erewhon, and Health. Josh's journey into the wellness industry began with a personal health transformation. Diagnosed with a genetic arthritis condition, he was introduced to hydrogen-enriched water in late 2022. After experiencing significant relief from his symptoms within a week, he became a staunch advocate for hydrogen health technology. At Echo, Josh emphasizes a science-driven approach to wellness, focusing on transparency, innovation, and customer trust. His leadership has been instrumental in positioning Echo Water as the category leader in the rapidly expanding hydrogen water health and wellness industry. Wow, wow, wow. Josh, incredible, incredible. And congratulations. I mean, seeing Echo Water honestly crush the market and, be in Walmart and be in Erewhon and all of these stores. As a fellow founder, I know how hard that is. So just congratulations and hats off to you. That's huge.
It's been fun. Yeah, it's been fun to be a part of that.
Cool, cool, cool. Now, I've researched your background. I heard a little bit about your, personal health journey. Walk us through what drew you to hydrogen-based wellness in the first place. Walk us through where you were before Echo.
Yeah, I'm naturally a skeptic, and look at most of the stuff as kind of quackery. That's my first instinct, right?
Yeah, I'm raising my hand. That's why I started this podcast, honestly, because I'm
Really.
I'm the same way.
I mean, there's some people that are believers, right? They just
Yes,
naturally accept things, and they're
totally.
triers, and that's just not my makeup. And so Paul Bertero, who is the original founder of Echo way back when, he's like a real pioneer in the hydrogen water space. And I had owned an office building, and Paul had purchased the building from me. And we had very limited interaction during that process. And there were some really kind of technical features of the building, like a really kind of fancy AV system that was hard to use. And Paul had me train some of his employees on it in the past. And so it'd been 5 years since I sold him the building. I hadn't talked to him, but he called me one day and he was like, "Can you come by and help me with something?" I was like, "Oh, that's random." But I figured it was like an AV problem or something with the building. And so I went over there to talk to him. And I didn't really know what he did before that. I would never really paid attention. But leading up to this moment, I had been in like a 3-year health crisis. So with an autoimmune disease like arthritis, I have ankylosing spondylitis. So if you've
What is
ever,
that?
my doctor said it's Latin for like stone spine or spine that turns to stone. But do you remember, you don't see it much anymore because the drugs have improved, but people would get very hunched over, bent over,
Yes,
like as they got
yes,
older.
yes.
So often that was ankylosing spondylitis. There's some crazy videos online of like there's a guy in China who didn't ever get any treatment and his face is stuck to his knees and he can't sit up. And they bring him to America, and the doctors are giving him surgeries and doing various things to unlock his spine so he can sit upright. But that's what it'll start fusing the major joint groups. So it usually starts in your hips, and then like rheumatoid or other arthritis may start in your fingers, the small joints. Ankylosing spondylitis will often start in the bigger joints like hips and back, and then knees, shoulders, and eventually go to the smaller joints.
Okay.
So for most people, it would express as like persistent back pain. The way that they diagnosed me, which is funny enough, is it was very hard to get diagnosed. I was too young for it anyway, and because it's genetic, it was expressing. But I remember sitting with my arthritis doctor. It took months and months to get into an arthritis doctor, but I had this guy, he was almost 90 years old, and he hadn't retired. He would only practice one day a month, but he was just, he's retired now, but he might not even be alive anymore. That was like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
He was awesome though. At 90, he was like riding his bike to work, So
God
he
dang
was
it, I
awesome.
want to be like that.
I know. So, but he'd only go to the office like one day a month. He was basically retired. And we couldn't figure out what I had. We'd done all these tests, done all these things, been to all sorts of doctors. And it was looking like an arthritis, but they couldn't figure out which one. And I sat in his office and we talked for hours just about all sorts of things. He's asking me questions. And I didn't know it was this way of diagnosing, right? He was learning things about me as he went along. And then, like 2.5 or 3 hours in, he asked me, "Can you touch your hands above your head?" And I was like, "Of course. Of course I can touch my hands above my head." And, I can now, but I went to do it and my hands were like this. I was
Oh
like,
my
I
word.
can't touch my hands above my head. And he's like, "I know what you have." And so they did the genetic test to verify it. Um, and they got me on some biologics, and those are great. Those typically work really well. But I was going through a period where nothing was working, like constant
Wow.
flare-ups. I've been using tons of
Right.
steroids. I'd gained a whole bunch of weight because I wasn't moving, and I was on steroids all the time. It's just
Oh
really,
my word.
really unhealthy. In fact, I tell people I hadn't gotten upstairs in my house in 3 years because going up the stairs was too difficult. So, the kids' bedrooms are upstairs, and I'd be like, "Good night, see ya. Hopefully you make it up there."
My word.
So it was just a really, really rough time. And then I'd had a health crisis where I almost died with an infection when I was in the remote desert of Utah. And so this is the condition that I'm in when I meet up with Paul, right? I went to his office about 2 months after I got out of the hospital, and I had sepsis. And so I was in the ICU for like a week or something.
You had sepsis. What?
Yeah.
If you don't mind me, I want to just understand, how old were you during this time? And were you healthy
This just
before this? Or was this just all of a sudden your health just took a dip?
so autoimmune disease, the drugs they give you are immune suppressant. And so you're more prone to things like infection. But it was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, August will be 3 years when from the time I went to the hospital. So I was 43
Yeah.
and too young for that to happen,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, because it probably wouldn't have been as bad if I wasn't so far from a hospital. But I was like basically, 12 to 15 hours from a hospital where we were. And so when I got the infection and getting back and making it to an ICU took a long time. And so it was just gradually getting worse and worse. Had I gotten there earlier, they probably could have intervened faster and gotten me on antibiotics or something. So I was still recovering from that. It was like very difficult to do, basic things, walking for a long way, just it really wipes you out. So I was talking with Paul, and Paul was saying, I'm in this bad spot with my business, and it's not going like I want it to go, and I don't know what to do. And, you know, he's like been advocating for hydrogen water for like 15 years and trying to get people to pay attention to it. And, sometimes like when you're the first one over the wall, when you're the pioneer,
Yes,
like you take all the arrows, right?
so
And
true.
it was wearing on him. And so we talked business for a while, and then he gave me this bottle. Actually, it's the our original Echo Go
Okay,
Plus,
okay.
and he gave me this, and he was like, "Take this; it'll really help you. Drink this hydrogen water; it's really going to help you." And I was like, "Whatever." But we were supposed to get back together in a week, and so because of the obligation of getting back with Paul, I had to tell him I'd been drinking the water. And so I started doing it. I was doing 3 bottles a day. And within a couple days, I was like, this is actually doing something. And but within a week, when getting back to Paul, now keep in mind, most people aren't, their health isn't in such a severe state as mine. And I was very tuned into pain. I'm very well acquainted with pain. And so these early indications I was noticing right away. The improvement came for over a longer time. It kept improving and improving. But within a week, I was like, this is definitely working. And so when I got back together with Paul, I was like, can you believe that this did this? And he's like, yeah, that's what it does. Like, of course I believe. He's like, and so then he started pointing me to the research and all the studies and the science behind it. And I thought it went from, oh, this is just wacky stuff to this is really legit. And I had no idea it even existed. How do people not know this exists? So I got really passionate about it. And things came to a point where Paul was in that mode where he was ready to take a step back and not be every day in the business. We partnered up and I became CEO, and Paul's kind of our chief evangelist, and he's out giving speeches and teaching and training people on hydrogen and doing the stuff he's most passionate about, which is like getting the message out there. And so it's been a great partnership. February was 2 years since we relaunched the business. And
Congratulations.
um, yeah, we just found a few veins that resonate with people. It's good market timing and good messaging, um, and it's really hit a sweet spot in the market, and so it's been a lot of fun.
Now, when you were first drinking the water and you said you're a self-claimed skeptic, what were what did you notice in your body? How did you feel when you were first starting to drink the water 3 times a day?
It's hard to remember specifically for me, but what I will say that what most people notice is the easiest thing for people to notice, probably because it happens so quickly, is mental clarity, brain fog, and energy. And so I always tell people, try it instead of a cup of coffee at 2:30 in the afternoon, because that's going to interrupt your sleep later because the caffeine's still in your system. Substitute that 1 cup of coffee with a bottle of hydrogen water. Now, you might still get a headache because your coffee withdrawal, but
Right.
the energy boost that you get and the mental clarity boost that you get will be better than anything you could get from the coffee. And it's not like a energy drink, which is what people think energy is this like
Oh,
frantic, it's almost like a stressful energy. Is that right? Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's just like the best hour of your day, right?
mm,
All of a sudden your willpower goes up, you're super productive, you're ready to go, and before you know it, like it's 2:30 and you're watching the clock, but before you know it, it's 6 o'clock and you're like, I gotta stop answering emails, I gotta stop working, I gotta get home or I gotta do whatever, because it's like
wow.
it just gets you so focused so quickly. And that's where people will notice, and that's the easiest one and the fastest one. Some of the other benefits take longer. The inflammation and the antioxidant properties of it are a lifetime thing. It's a battle you're constantly fighting, but inflammation and other things can take, up to 6 weeks before you really start to notice. But energy is a quick one, and mental clarity is a quick one. And then all the other things, the improvements in your skin and all those other things come across time.
Wow. Walk me through, how does hydrogen water even work, and what makes it different than other hydration techniques?
That's a great question. So most people don't know, but 63% of your body is hydrogen. And we try to talk about it as bonded hydrogen and unbonded hydrogen. So when we say 63%, you're like, how could it be 63% hydrogen and 70% water? But the bonded hydrogen, it's bonded with an oxygen molecule. And so it makes up a big portion of that. Then hydrogen is in your proteins, your fats, your carbohydrates. Hydrogen bonds are used throughout the body, like holding your DNA together. And then the hydrogen ions are used to move things across membranes for the mitochondria to create ATP. There's a million different things. Now, hydrogen gas specifically is a signaling molecule. So the other bonded hydrogens are doing their job and they're going to stay that way. But hydrogen gas is an unbonded hydrogen. And so it can go anywhere in your body and it works as a powerful antioxidant. But most importantly, it's a signaling molecule to tell your cells to go back to homeostasis, go back to your best state and
Got
hit
it.
reset. So it's very similar to, have you tried intermittent fasting, or
Yes, yeah,
have you
actually I
tried a
do.
really intense fast?
I have. I actually do an intense fast once a month, and I do intermittent fasting till 11. Like I do like an 11 to 5.
So when your monthly fast, how long do you go?
I do 24 hours. Typically, that's the most I can do. And then I'm like
That's
sad.
great though. I do it. I do that every month too. So
Yeah.
um, that 24-hour fast, you stress your body, right?
Yes, yes.
And so it sends a signal to your body to start healing. So oftentimes people will say, especially when they try it for the first time, when you've been doing it for a long time, you've grown accustomed to how you feel. But when people try it for the first time, they'll be like, that next few days after I fasted, I felt amazing.
It's true.
And because your body's gone back to homeostasis, hit reset, and now it's healing and it's doing those things. So hydrogen is a signaling molecule that mimics the effect of very intense exercise or a fast without doing those things. It stresses your body in a similar way to get it to go back to homeostasis and hit the reset button, if you will. And so you can, rather than waiting for once a month, I mean, you can do it for 5 times a day, right? Just these quick resets.
How interesting. I didn't know that. You know, I've actually heard people who will go for prolonged fasts, like specifically writers in the industry. They will go for prolonged fasts and they'll knock out a show because they're like, hey, the mental clarity I get
Hmm.
is unparalleled. I'm like, I've never done that. It sounds really interesting,
Yeah.
but yeah, I hear people actually do that as a
I
technique.
I've done it.
Okay.
It's your body's fight or flight response, right? It goes into
Right.
survival mode. And
Right.
so it gets highly focused on and highly tuned in to surviving. So if you imagine you're on the, Serengeti and you're in the famine, like your body's like, okay, we got to survive. How do we do this? And you get dialed in really quick. And I think the longest I've gone is 4 or 5 days.
4 or 5 days. Wow, that's amazing.
And it gets easy though. It gets really easy. Like you're hungry the first day. By the third day, you're not hungry at all. And you're just on your way because your body's like, okay, now I know what to do. I'm going to
Exactly.
burn this other stuff. I'm going to
Right.
switch gears. And now,
Right.
I used to work with a guy who would do 40 days every year.
I've heard of that too.
Yeah, I thought he was crazy, but he loved it. He loved it.
But I've always wondered, and I wonder, not to get too off topic, but I'm super curious about fasting because I have wanted to do a prolonged fast. What always made me nervous was the comeback after the fast, like making sure that you have a plan to reintegrate food, start with juices. How was that for you when you did your prolonged fast?
You know what? It's funny. I've done it a few times. I did one for 3 days once
Okay.
that I had this plan of I was going to go, reintroduce here and do this and that. And I was so hungry and I'd already made up my mind, but I got to it so late that the only thing open was the Taco Bell. And I
Wow.
went and ate Taco Bell and I thought I was going to die. This
I,
is the negative experience. I've never been so torn up in my life. I thought I
no.
was going to die. It was a disaster. So,
No.
my advice is don't break your fast with Taco Bell.
Yeah. No. No. No.
It doesn't need to be said, but I'm saying it. So, you know what this my friend would do is after the 40 days, he would reintroduce with broth first.
Gosh,
So he'd do a
yeah.
couple days on broth and then he'd start building back.
Right.
Um, I don't typically have a really sensitive gut, but you don't really crave heavy, crazy foods. Your body kind of craves what it needs. And so, when I do my 24-hour fast, I don't do water either, which is just to really stress the body. I don't know if that's great advice or not, but when I do a longer one, I do water. So after 24 hours, I'm just desperately thirsty.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it's longer, it's like fruit or I'm trying to think what I would crave. Almost always fruit for me.
Fruit.
Yeah. You're not ready for like a beef
Yeah.
stew or something. Yeah.
Yeah, even with intermittent fasting for me, like in the morning, it's like you don't crave. I used to eat heavier breakfast, and now like just something light is more of the vibe, and then move through the day with more macronutrients and heavier meals for lunch, and then by dinner, I'm kind of like So yeah, very
Yeah.
interesting. The whole fasting game is so interesting, but really cool that with hydrogen, you kind of can mimic some of that, some of the bodily, some of the function, some of the what's happening within your body by drinking the
Yeah.
hydrogen.
Like micro stress, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like it's
exactly.
good stress on the body and
Right,
the hydrogen gives you like a micro stress. Like
right,
and
right.
and you do it at a more higher interval than you would the bigger stresses that you go through.
Exactly. I'm just so curious. What was your friends, the people around you? What was their reaction when you're like, "Hey, I'm drinking this hydrogen water. Now I'm going to go run this company." Like, how did they react?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I've done lots of different companies, and so my kids don't even know what I do ever.
Right, right. They're like, "Dad's
They're
just doing
like,
his thing."
Wait, I thought you worked at this place." I'm like, no, that's gone. That's done. I'm doing this now." So,
Right.
from my family standpoint, it's normal for them, but what made them curious was the benefits. Hydrogen isn't a weight loss drug, right? But because I was not suffering from so much inflammation, then I was moving more and I was more active and I was able to, I started losing weight and just looking and feeling healthier. And so those are the things they notice. And I'm like, they'd say, well, what are you doing? And it's just the hydrogen water. I'm just moving now, getting my steps in because I can finally do steps. Because I was down to, I always wear my Apple Watch, and I was down to like 1,200 steps a day at my low part when I was just in crazy pain all the time. And now, 10,000 is kind of a minimum in a normal day for me. And so, just doing that, it's going to burn a lot of calories.
Huge
And
difference.
so,
Yeah.
and your body switches from, store everything mode to use what you've put in. So I got up to 215. I'm not a big guy. And so 215, that's the fattest I've ever been. That was crazy. And luckily I didn't throw all my clothes away because I could fit into them again. But like my normal weight is like 165 to 175. That's where I'm very, like I'm one, when I weighed myself this morning, I think I was 170 or something. So like my normal fluctuation zone. And so just getting back to that, being able to move again and be active again and do the things we love. Like we were talking about snowboarding before.
Yes, exactly.
I never went a season without a pass, but I did go because I always held out hope, but I did go a couple seasons where I never went one time, even though I
Wow.
bought the pass. So, just like the freedom that you get from good health is pretty amazing.
Priceless. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, I think that people don't realize, I think especially we talk about all the things in life, money and, achievements and success, but without health, those things, it kind of can't help you. You can have all the money, you can have all the success, but if you don't have the health or longevity to actually enjoy those things, it creates difficulty in your life.
We're here in Utah, and the former owner of the Utah Jazz was a guy named Larry H. Miller. And great guy, built this empire, multi-billionaire. Everyone loved the guy, but it was diabetic and he just wouldn't do what he was supposed to do. And so he died way too early. And leading up to it, he lost his feet, then his legs, and he just wouldn't take care of himself. And so I can't remember. I think he was 60 when he died, something like that.
So
And
young,
so young, right?
so
And
young.
it's a good like negative example of like that guy had everything. I
Right,
remember
exactly.
going to a museum of cars. He had a major car collection. I remember going to this museum that he had of his cars. And you know that movie Ford versus Ferrari where
Yes, yes, yes.
the GT cars, they finish one, two, three. He had all three of those cars at one time, and this huge picture of them finishing the race with each car parked under itself in the picture. And they said that those cars were like $15 million each, right? And he's got this unbelievable car collection of the coolest things you've ever seen. And now someone else owns all of those cars. Someone else has all of that stuff, and all those things he loved. And just like take care of yourself.
It's the most
Yeah, so
important.
it's like he had everything but health. And to me, it's a really good negative example of like, yeah,
Agree.
I
Yeah, health
think
as well.
you get to the very end and you're like, what would you have traded to live longer, to feel better, right? You probably would have traded it all.
Agree, agree. And I think feel better is a really important point because it's also the longevity part. Like I love watching Peter Tia's videos and talking about longevity. So not only just having health, when you're, young, but as you become 80 and 90, like, should you
Yeah.
live to those ages?
It's really hard to communicate the benefit of that, though,
Right,
right? Because
right.
until you're old, you don't realize what old feels like and why
Exactly.
longevity matters.
Exactly.
And people, like trying to get people to save for retirement is hard to do, and
That,
paying
right.
attention to longevity is hard to do. And we can't think much beyond the moment that we're in.
So true.
Um, but you know, you don't have to be that old to realize that things aren't quite the same as they used to be.
Oh,
Once
yeah.
you're 35 or 40, you're like,
Yep.
hmm,
Yep.
didn't think I'd
What
feel
is
like
happening?
this.
Yep,
Yeah,
we were talking before this show about we both snowboard, and I was talking about I just turned 40, and I was talking about how like now I'm going to the bench to strap
yeah,
into my board.
yeah,
Shameless,
yeah,
like
yeah.
honesty.
Yeah, and you're like, why don't they have a strap-in service
Yeah,
like a valet?
exactly. Yeah, I would totally pay for that service at the top of the mountain. Someone help. It's so true. Things are different. I feel my
Yeah,
knees are different, than they were when I was 25.
yeah. And when you're
So,
25, you're like, I'm going till they close the
oh
lift.
yeah,
And when
totally.
you're 40, you're like, they're
Man,
gonna close in an hour. We might as well go
I
now.
think we're good. We've done enough.
Yeah,
So true. Yeah. Health is and longevity. Health and longevity is wealth. I really do believe that's so, so important. You talked about some of the benefits you're going through, and I think that these things are so important to longevity, like reducing inflammation, having sharp mental clarity and acuity, getting rid of that brain frog. What are some of the other benefits that people may not know about hydrogen water?
You know, the thing that's amazing about hydrogen water is because the hydrogen gas is used by every Sarah who works for us, and she's kind of a researcher for us. She talks about how there's these ancient biological systems that use the same elements. They all use oxygen, they all use hydrogen, they all use carbon, and all of your ancient systems depend on these things, right? And so when you go look at the study literature for hydrogen, because it's a fairly new topic, like the first major study came out in 2008 in Nature, it's
Mm,
been kind of a gold rush for researchers to publish something because
interesting.
like has someone studied hydrogen's benefits on your eyes, has someone studied its benefits on your lungs, and because every organ group uses hydrogen as you supplement with it, they can measure benefit in almost every system. And
Mm,
so there's lots and lots of studies that are getting published all the time where someone's like, I'm no one studied hydrogen on your whatever yet. Let's try that. And then they study that. And almost always it shows a benefit because your body needs it. It's just the same way that if you were oxygen deprived, your struggle would be system wide. If you're hydrogen deficient, your struggle is going to be system wide. And so inflammation, of course, is a huge one. Inflammation is kind of the key to all disease, and hydrogen's really, really great at reducing inflammation. So that one's always important. And that's one of those basic things that everyone can get behind is like reducing inflammation. It's a selective antioxidant, so it's really, really good at taking out the trash. And, oxidation is the same process that when you see rusty metal, that metal has oxidized, right? So I like that metaphor is really powerful because it's like imagine your body's rusting. It's not really how it works, but imagine your body's rusting, it's corroding, it's breaking down, and an antioxidant can remove that rust. It takes the rust away. And
mm.
so um, it's really powerful that way. So system wide, I mean, you'll have benefits. Inflammation is one of the biggest ones though, because it kind of leads to all the other stuff.
And so many people, especially in the United States, I feel like an inflammation epidemic. So many people have chronic.
Yeah, I think our baseline standard for inflammation is probably higher than historically it would have been because everyone is full of inflammation.
Totally, absolutely. And you see so many chronic conditions, people who don't know what's going on, and inflammation
Hmm.
is the root cause of it. Also curious, I know that people talk about hydrogen therapy, drinking hydrogen water. I continue to see it on TikTok, and it feels like there's this huge, 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 interest as you're talking about in research. But what are some of the misconceptions that need to be cleared up about hydrogen water and hydrogen therapy?
So there's a couple things I would hit on with that. In the base of this is our new bottle, by the way. This is the Echo
So
Flask that we sell now.
gorgeous.
We're
Design,
going to
by
get
the
you one of
way,
these.
who does your design? Your design is so sleek. I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I do it all myself. No, just kidding.
I was like,
We have the most amazing and talented designer. His name's Devin Stevens, and he's done work all over the place. He used to work for DC Shoes, a company you
okay,
might know, or Fox Racing, a number of companies that you would know, a lot in the action sports industry,
okay,
actually.
okay. Oh, cool.
And he's just kind of a genius designer. So we worked together on developing the flask. I had some requirements that I wanted to hit and some ideas that I wanted to hit. And he made it a beautiful and
Stunning.
functional thing. This was a really tough project, actually. Getting like from a manufacturing standpoint,
I can't
it's
imagine.
very, very complex because it has to hold 90 pounds of pressure in order to generate or for the hydrogen to build up to 8 parts per million. And so getting a rectangle bottle to hold 90 pounds of pressure without exploding, like a car tire is 35 pounds of pressure, right?
I
So
can
it's
imagine.
a basketball, I think, is 10 pounds of pressure.
Right,
So
right.
there's a lot of pressure in there. In fact, I think this one's, have I run this already? Let me run this. Let's see. See if you can hear no, I haven't run it. So when you've run it, you can hear the air come out when you push this button on the top to bleed the pressure
Uh,
out. If you didn't do that, the pressure's too tight for you to even take the lid off.
wow,
Yeah,
wow.
we've had some users that didn't quite put the lid on all the way, and as the pressure builds, it'll shoot off. So I'll build the pressure in this. You can see maybe you can see
Yeah, tight,
bubbles in
yeah.
there. It's kind of hard to see with the reflection, but maybe, yeah.
Little bit. We'll have to zoom in so that people can see it. I mean,
Yeah, actually, I might be able to zoom in on
yeah,
this camera
absolutely.
if it'll
Yeah, there we go.
focus. Focus.
Yep, I see it. Yep, we see the bubbles. How cool. That's how it works. So interesting.
Yeah, so it's using electricity to separate. the oxygen from the hydrogen.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then we send the oxygen out a port on the bottom. There's a little hole where the oxygen comes out, and the hydrogen goes up into the water. And that's actually maybe my first misconception, going back to your question, is with our older bottle, there was a lot of knockoffs of this bottle. This bottle we sold this for $49. You can still get it on Amazon. Alongside it, you'll see bottles that are, $50, $100, that sort of thing. There's a proton exchange membrane in the base of the bottle that keeps the oxygen and the hydrogen separated. If you don't do that, those things can recombine as all sorts of different components. The water becomes acidic. It'll have chlorine in it. In fact, when people buy the cheaper bottles, they'll open it and it'll smell like chlorine.
Right.
And then
Right.
they drink it because they think it's a healthy hydrogen bottle, but it's a cheap Chinese knockoff. So the first misconception would be, don't think you're getting a good deal. You're just going to be drinking poison. And we're doing some things to try and get that regulated. Hydrogen's just so new. There's no infrastructure in place to regulate it. We're trying to get Amazon to create a category for hydrogen bottles and then some rules around it. And then some other steps we're trying to take to make sure that people know this one has a proton exchange membrane and it's generating pure hydrogen, not some weird concoction. Then the other things we hear all the time, doesn't water already have hydrogen in it?
Right. Right.
And that's true. It does. And that's how we get the hydrogen out, is using the water that's in the bottle. So people ask, do you have to refill it with hydrogen? Is there a cartridge you put in or something? But no, it's using the water that's in the bottle and using electrical current to separate them. Um, but water already has hydrogen in it, and your body can extract hydrogen from food and water that you bring in, fermentation in the gut, the water that you drink. It can extract that. But what happens is, as you age, the demand you have for hydrogen increases, just in the same way that your gut health is decreasing and your ability to produce and absorb that hydrogen is decreasing.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's just like a lot of things. As you get older, I mean, a 6-year-old drinking hydrogen water, it's not going to hurt them, but they probably won't feel anything because their body's creating all the hydrogen it needs. Like, just like everything else, when you get 35, 40, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe a little
Yeah.
supplement of this would make me feel a little
Exactly.
bit better. And so that's a really common misconception. Another that we hear all the time is, isn't hydrogen flammable? And people get really nervous about that. And I say, yes, and so is oxygen. So don't forget, right? If
Right.
you were to
Right.
light a pure oxygen bottle on fire,
You'd be in
you
trouble.
know, those oxygen tanks, you don't smoke while you're doing oxygen therapy, right? So, same thing. It's counterintuitive. Fire's dangerous, whatever, but we use oxygen and hydrogen in the body, even though we take them out of the body and light those things on fire. So, yeah, that's often a concern. What else? Have you heard anything else that
We
misconceptions you've been thinking
have
about?
some in the trend section that I'm going to go with. I'm going to run through. We actually scan TikTok and Reddit. So there's a few that I'm going to save for this section.
Okay, okay.
But it actually brings me to a question. I think about this all the time because there's a lot of nuance in explaining your product and making sure that people understand, how it works and what it's for and, so on and so forth. Do you feel like consumers are ready for science-backed wellness? Have you had any issues with educating consumers on more technical products?
It's really hard.
Yeah, yeah,
We're not, in the end, we make decisions with emotion and we use science and
exactly.
logic to justify a
Right,
decision we already made, right?
right, exactly.
And we should do it the other way, but we don't. And so we make emotional decisions and then justification using logic and just how we work. And it's really, really difficult. Hydrogen is so new that a large part of what we do is education and just trying to get the word out there. And, when something is established in the market and you know about it, it's just a matter of choosing the best one.
So true.
Like, Nike, maybe this isn't true, but we'll go with it. But Nike invented the running shoe, right? Before the running shoe existed, people ran in all sorts of things.
Exactly.
And now you say, oh, I need a running shoe. It's a thing that you need, and you go look for which one is the best for you, right?
Right,
And,
right.
some people like Mizuno, some people like New Balance, some people like Nike. And you just choose the one that fits you the best and your style of running the best and all those kinds of things. So we're not in that mode yet with hydrogen. People don't know it's something they need. They're not aware of it. Most of the time when you talk about it, it's the first time they've ever heard of it. And so it's the two-factor thing where you have to learn about it first and then choose which one's the best.
True.
We're in a unique position because we're by far the market leader and have the most advanced products. So typically when people spend some time learning about it, they're brought to us as the solution in the market.
Mm,
So we've got quite a few competitors now, but they're like kind of copycat competitors. They're
okay.
trying to compete on a lower price point, or they're trying to compete on some other factor, but we've got that position as the market leader. And so that's beneficial for us. But education is just absolutely huge. I think, and this is hard to do. Hopefully I haven't gone into too much jargon and whatever,
No,
but
no.
it's hard to communicate things on a level that people will understand generally.
Agreed.
In order for you to really learn something, you have to be able to repeat it to someone else, right? And so anytime I learn something new, I try to teach someone it so that it goes into deep in. And so if you can give someone a story they can repeat, that's very, very simple, then it helps educate them and it helps them educate others. And so we're trying to get to that point with our hydrogen story that it's very simple to understand and very simple to teach someone else about it. You know, when you were at the barbecue, someone says, "Oh, my knees are killing me." And you're like, "Have you tried hydrogen water?"
Right, right,
Right?
right, right,
That conversation isn't happening yet.
right,
And that's when we know we've got a win is when that conversation's happening. Even if they're not saying have you tried Echo, but just if you've tried
right,
hydrogen water.
right. I'm a marketer by trade, like that's my first business, and yeah, to get them to the place where they're saying, "Have you tried Echo?" would be, that's the like
Yeah.
golden,
Yep.
that's the
Yep.
golden, but it will
I
happen.
always joke around that we'll know we made it when in 5 years my mom comes up to me and says, "Have you heard of hydrogen water before? You should really try this for your arthritis." And I'll be like, "Mom,
Yes,
I gave you a bottle 5 years ago and you've been
yes.
drinking out of it. So you should pay attention."
I love it. The mom test. I agree. Whenever my mom is like, talking about the things I'm working on, I'm like, yay, we did it. The
Yeah.
mom
Mission
test. Yeah,
accomplished.
mission accomplished. There's so much happening, I feel like, in the hydrogen product space. I mean, what do you feel like is the next frontier and what are you excited about?
So we've launched 3 products this year. We
Right.
have a whole bunch more that we're working on. Some of the things that are very interesting are we had a pretty big breakthrough where we were able to take traditionally any hydrogen supplement you would take was in a tablet form, so it could dissolve like an Alka-Seltzer in the water.
Okay. Okay.
But there's some challenges with that because you can't pair it with anything. It's just hydrogen and they taste horrible. Like just
Never tried one.
and it's
Really?
a constraint of the
Right.
form factor. If you added any other ingredients, the tablet would be as big as the bottle, right? So it's like it'd have to get huge.
Yikes.
And so, but they do just taste awful, awful, awful. And the science behind how you generate hydrogen with a supplement is really quite simple. Actually, let me grab this. This is elemental magnesium. These are
Okay.
magnesium crystals. I don't know if you
Cool.
can see. I
Yeah.
guess I can do this trick again.
That's cool. Look at
It's
all
really
of the
cool.
like, yeah, it's beautiful,
Yeah. Almost
actually.
like feathers, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
And so you use magnesium and an acid, and as that magnesium oxidizes with the acid, it pulls the oxygen. So before we were talking about antioxidant, getting rid of oxidation. In order to create the reaction, you oxidize the magnesium. And so use like say citric acid. Magnesium, citric acid, they're both natural, and a lot of people are already taking magnesium supplement.
Right.
You combine those two, and now I mean, it's not as simple as just, you couldn't just take a citric acid and a magnesium. They would never do it. But you combine those two, and the acid oxidizes the magnesium. And so it pulls the oxygen away from the water and it releases the hydrogen, right? Fairly simple in theory. And we figured out a way to make that a powdered form so that we can add flavors and we can add other ingredients to enhance the benefit. So our first product that we launched with that is a powdered drink mix
I saw
that
that on the site.
it tastes like green apple, and
Ooh,
because of the citric acid in there, it tastes like a fresh green apple. It tastes really great.
yum.
And you don't taste the metallic magnesium that's in there. And it's a prebiotic as well. So the
Mm,
fiber that's in that prebiotic, as it ferments in your gut, it releases more hydrogen. So you have this double shot thing where you get quick hydrogen, energy boost, brain fog gone, all those kinds of things. And then some more long-term hydrogen that's getting released through the gut in the fermentation process. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity for innovation along those lines. I have a whole bunch of products. Now that we cracked the code on how to do that, I have a whole bunch of products I'm interested in doing And I don't want to talk about them yet because I don't want anyone to steal my ideas, but there's
Right,
some really
right.
fun things there. We are working on different form factors for the bottle and different endpoints, bottle, pitcher.
Okay,
You
very
know,
cool.
we're always trying to get a lower cost bottle so that the entry level point is more accessible to people. But it's some of the hardware in there. The proton exchange membrane is a really expensive piece of hardware. And so it's hard to get the cost down, but I think we can do it. And then some of the other things that are really cool that are coming out are different delivery mechanisms for hydrogen. So we have a hydrogen inhalation machine. We have a hydrogen bath unit
Okay.
where you soak in hydrogen water. Um, and those are really, really fun. The hydrogen bath has unbelievable case studies and unbelievable research behind it, eliminating subcutaneous fat and surface level fat,
Wow.
cellulite, things like that, skin health, wrinkles. Uh, I'm forgetting my word. What's the psoriasis?
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's very effective on psoriasis. There's
Right.
clinical studies specific to psoriasis, and the
Amazing.
before and after pictures are amazing.
Wow. Is it like, do you hook it to like your faucet or how does it the bath
So
work?
our unit has a pump inside. So you have one hose that sucks water from the tub and one hose that puts hydrogen-rich water back into the tub. And so you just let it run, and you can run it before you get in, or you can let it run while you're in. Um, and yeah, anecdotal feedback we get from users is amazing, but the clinical researches and the studies are also amazing. So that's a real breakthrough category. And we're working, so right now the hardware is very expensive. It's like it's expensive for spas to buy that hardware. And so we're working on some solutions that people can hopefully get access to that kind of product in the home. And so if the stuff we're developing works out, then we'd be able to hit a much lower price point for home users, and that would be great. We're also talking to a number of companies about integrating the hydrogen gas system into their cold plunge
Right. Oh,
and
interesting.
other endpoints like that. So you could have like a hydrogen rich cold plunge. The inhalation is interesting. The bathing and the inhalation aren't as well studied as the water. The water has, I think, 1,300 and something studies, and you're talking like 20 to 50 for each of those other endpoints. They're fairly new, and so more research needs to be done on those. But I've tested I've got sleep apnea as well. So if I don't use my CPAP, I'm just shot, right?
Right.
And I've tested the inhalation, just sitting there and doing inhalation for 30 minutes. I've also tested it, like using it overnight with my CPAP and all these different things. I'm just playing with it because there's not a ton of research on it, to see what the best dosage and use case is. But where spas are using it is they combine it with other treatments. So like while you're doing red light, they have you inhaling hydrogen. And what will happen at like 30 minutes of inhalation is you'll notice like a big energy boost and you'll just feel really good coming out of it. So for spas, it's really great because no matter what you did in the spa, the hydrogen's going to make you feel awesome
So
for the
great.
next
Right.
couple hours at
Right.
least. So
Right. Super cool.
yeah, so you could go in there and get beat up in a massage and
Right.
come out feeling like
You're like,
top of the world. Yeah. It's kind of like I always wonder why when you take your car to the mechanic, they don't detail it and bring it back clean. Because no
yes,
one knows what they fixed. But if it was clean, it would feel like a new car, right?
so true. The place
So it's
actually
like
like
that
my
same
car
kind of thing with the spa. Yeah,
they do that. They actually do like clean the car and it makes all the difference. Like, I'm like
makes
more
all the
willing to
difference.
pay.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, I want to pay you more because the car looks
yeah,
great. Like, who knows what you actually did, but you know.
yeah, yeah. And your car gets dirty, and you're like, I think something's wrong. Can you check it out?
Exactly. Exactly. So true.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of that same thing when you leave the spa. They want you feeling good when you leave, even though some of the things they do are to stress your body and to,
Right. Right.
cause some healing, but they want you to feel good. People are using it like that and combining it with other therapies.
Really
There are
cool.
some amazing studies with hydrogen and hyperbaric. Um, but it's really similar to the oxygen hyperbaric. When you go down that path of like a high saturation hydrogen mixture and hyperbaric pressure, or oxygen, the results are very accelerated, but it's very dangerous to do that. So, because it's under pressure and there's that much hydrogen or that much oxygen in the unit, if you were to have spark from static or something, you could
Oh,
have a
oh
big problem.
no.
And so there's been some pretty horrible mishaps that,
Ooh, yikes.
yeah.
No, no, we don't want that.
So so people are doing it more as a cannula where you're inhaling it as you're in the hyperbaric or other
Okay.
endpoints like that.
Okay.
So you're not, your whole body's not fully saturated. And that the benefits aren't as good, but the safety is,
Yeah,
safety is more important.
outweighs.
So,
Exactly.
but there's some cancer studies with that, and there's some really interesting things. And so if someone could figure out a way to do it perfectly safe, maybe they would have a real breakthrough there. But, if you want to be saturated, you can, maybe that's the way to do it, is like some kind of high pressure water you're in, right?
That's
Hydrogen water that's pressurized like hyperbaric. That'd be interesting. I don't know if that exists, but it wouldn't be
maybe.
flammable. So we're inventing right here.
Right,
We're
we're
changing
I
the
was gonna
world.
say we may just be onto something right here on the podcast, you know? It's the science to me is so interesting, the science, the innovation, the research. I like to, I want to ask a question for consumers on the behalf of consumers because I feel like out there there's so many things. How do you know that the product, the company is actually science based versus just marketing hype? And I'm a marketer and I know
Mm,
that there's so much out there that isn't in integrity, that is just marketing, that someone just trying to sell you stuff. How can a consumer who's skeptical, like myself, how can you know that you're getting an actual science based product?
that's really tricky, isn't it?
Right.
Because most of it is hype, unfortunately. And, some of these irresponsible marketers will promise the world too. In the wellness industry, there's always somebody coming along saying they've got the cure for cancer and they've got, and then they charge people way too much money and there's no results. And um, it's, and people that are, it's really pretty sad because people that are in those health situations, like if the pain is acute enough, you'll do anything to fix it. And so, it's that balance of breakthrough science and trying things and, experimenting to find some solution to your problem that traditional medicine hasn't, and bad players fleecing people and taking all their money. And so it's a really, really tough spot. And it's unfortunate too, because the people that are doing it the right way um, have the reputational destruction regardless because of the people that are doing it the wrong way. So it's really tough. I think claims are actually a good sign. Like if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And so the claims are a good sign. It's if you go to their website and they're saying it does every single thing and does it the best ever and it's going to change the world, that's good. It's really tricky these days because um, I look at some of these speakers and I'm interested in logic and reason and took these kind of classes in college and you see the manipulation techniques they're using but if you're not trained to see that stuff, if you're not familiar with it, you'll be manipulated by it instead of noticing what they're doing. um, I think ChatGPT is a huge help. uh, I I've been using, if you haven't used it before, use it like you use Google and just ask it questions like you'd ask Google and see what it comes back with. And, you can ask it, is this ingredient all it's cracked up to be? Um, is it all hype or is there some science behind it? Can you share the studies with me? Can you read these studies to me and tell me in a plain language, have them make sense? It can do all those things. And that's a huge help for people, I think, to separate fact from fiction. And the ChatGPT is going to err on the side of caution a little bit, but that's not bad. Um, you know, it's going to be a little more careful, but you can decide then when you get all the information if you want to try it or not. That's what's hard about Google these days is every site is selling something. And so you have to go to like 10 different sources to find anything that is truth and meaningful, and you're almost reading between the lines. And so doing your own research has become hard. And that's why I really like those chat tools like Grok, ChatGPT are two of my favorites.
Same.
They're great for parsing that stuff out.
I agree. I use it too, just I'm a marketer and I know how the game is played. And I've always said I want to teach a course on ethical marketing. I feel like I've said this so many times, I just need to do it because, there's so many psychological manipulation tactics that are used. It's funny. I became a marketer after studying behavioral economics, and it actually prepared me probably better for marketing than just marketing classes, because a lot of what marketing is understanding what makes people tick and how to use that to get them to drive a buying decision. And in the wellness industry, it can be incredibly sinister because you have people who are looking for a solution and you can tell them
There,
all sorts of
yeah.
things and they're
There's a lot of people preying on
exactly.
pain.
Exactly,
Yep.
100%, which is really
Yep.
unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate. I'm curious, if someone is thinking about hydrogen therapy, hydrogen water, they're interested in trying it for the first time, what would you tell them for, their first time?
Well, our bottle's $300. So it's a higher price point that is maybe not accessible to some people. So for an experimentation phase, a lot of people before they're totally convinced and want to have an experience with hydrogen, that might be too far to go.
Mm,
Uh, I'm kind of an early adopter and kind of a nerd, and so for
right.
me, that stuff is fun to just get it and try it. We do have a 60-day money back guarantee on our bottles, so if you did want to try it and it didn't work for you, no questions asked, you could return it. You're not out anything. But the supplement is also a much lower price point for having a hydrogen experience. It's the bottle is the purest form you can get, and it's absolutely the best delivery mechanism. But you'll be able to tell from using the supplement if hydrogen is going to make you feel better. And so that's a great spot to go. The way most of our customers are using the supplement is they keep a few in their purse or whatever, and then if they forget their bottle or they don't want to take it with them to something, then they can just pour it into a bottle of water, and it's really easy to do. And that's how most people are doing it, is like a complement to the bottle, not just using the supplement. But if, the supplement's $59 and you get a month's supply for that, and you could definitely try it and see if it's going to work. And I think that's probably the lowest cost, easiest way to do it. If you had a friend with a bottle, have them pour it into a cup and drink it and just see.
Right,
That
right.
would be.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
But sampling is a huge thing for us. I wish there was a way that people could try it. We do it at trade shows and events
Okay,
like that,
okay.
and you see this thing happening where we bring some bigger equipment so people can fill up their water bottles and do whatever else. And then people will come back multiple times a day. They'll come back every day of the show. Like, I couldn't believe how well this worked. I'm going to fill up my bottle again if that's okay. Or I can't get enough of this. So they get a good sampling experience with the hydrogen from that. And that's always great. But
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
hard to do for the regular person. So,
Right. But I love the fact that you have the other delivery mechanism, with the tablet. So that's another way that people can try. But really, really, really cool. I want to go into true or false because I have so many of these, as
okay.
we're talking about misconceptions, that I would like to clear out. Face your daily hydration needs.
It's true, but it doesn't need to replace it. Um, so that's actually kind of a misconception, is that people think once they start drinking hydrogen water, it has to be all of their water. I carry around a water bottle and a hydrogen bottle. And so I try to do three bottles per day at 8 parts per million. And I found that dose works really well for me. And then when I have a flare up, like of my arthritis, a day that's rougher than the others, it's stormy outside, I wake up in pain, then I'll do like 5 bottles on a day like that. But you can use any other thing to hydrate in addition to, but I really say the minimum that you want to do is about 3 bottles a day.
Okay, okay, interesting, interesting. Another thing I feel like people talk about, they say most people get enough hydrogen from naturally from their food. Is that true or false?
Well, define most people. That would be the question.
Mm,
So,
yeah,
like I said, if you're very healthy, if your gut health is good, if your body's working just like it should, then it's true. Your body should be able to get enough hydrogen just from your diet, and I mean a healthy diet, and if you're staying very hydrated. Like I was mentioning with a 6-year-old, little kids where their body's functioning just right, a 6-year-old that's in great health, they probably would have no benefit. They would have no harm either, but they would probably have no benefit from the
right,
water.
right.
But I think most of us, when you say most people, I think most of us aren't in perfect health.
Yeah.
So, and then the other side of that is there's some really great research on athletic performance and recovery. So we have a lot of extreme athletes, high performance athletes who are in perfect health, who are increasing endurance and recovery and having those benefits by supplementing with hydrogen water. And that's the other side of it because their demand, they also you need electrolytes, right?
Right.
Because they're
Right.
sweating so much, they're working out so much. Their demand is so much higher. And so they're using hydrogen water to improve endurance, recovery, all those kinds of things. So the most people is where that gets cloudy. I would say it's true that some people don't need to supplement with hydrogen water
Right.
and their body's going to create enough.
Okay. Okay. Fair. We were kind of talking about this. True or false? The wellness industry is oversaturated with unproven claims.
True.
Yeah.
A million true. Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I always think about whether or not regulation will ever happen and what that would actually look like.
Well, there's already regulation and it just can't keep up, right? Because it's like whack-a-mole. They try to slap these groups down and then they spring right back up. And um, you know, it's even worse than ever because they can ship stuff directly from China now and directly from these other markets. So they'll be advertising in the US market and it'll be a site that's going to ship from somewhere else in the world. And the US government can't regulate that. And even Europe and other places, they have really strict regulations and they're getting stuff from all over the world. So I think the era of the internet has changed this so that the government can't keep you safe from those kinds of things. It's become your responsibility to keep you safe, and so just learning to read through the BS and do a little research of your own and do a little due diligence because the liars are always going to lie. There's always
Yeah,
been people selling snake oil, right?
totally. Since the dawn of time.
Yep. It's the thing that about the snake oil salesman that's so crazy to me is the energy that goes into that. There's so many legitimate products that if you
Agree.
just took that same energy and sold something that was real, you would be more successful because no one's going to come shut you down or give you bad reviews
Exactly.
or pull the plug. But maybe they get a rush out of it. I don't know.
It's
But
strange. It
yeah,
makes no sense. Yeah, or people,
it
it's
makes
been
no
driving me
sense.
crazy on Amazon are, legitimate companies having companies, kind of like what you were saying with Echo, ripping off the products, especially with supplements and pills and selling fake pills. Like, why would you, what are you doing? Why
Yeah,
would you do
and
this?
you don't. There's no great way to know what's in those either, right? How do you
Exactly.
know what they claim
Exactly.
is? So they may say it's got all these great ingredients in it,
Right.
and maybe
Right.
it's just filled with sugar. How
Yeah.
would you even know?
How would you know? Exactly.
No,
It's wild. It's really, really wild. The next one. Hydrogen therapy has been around for centuries.
it's false, but with a little bit of a caveat.
Okay.
So, I mean, they discovered how to generate hydrogen with electricity quite a while ago, 200 years ago. And but I say it's false. The caveat is there are some natural springs around the world that people have gone to for healing for a long time.
Right. Right.
And they didn't know why they were healing springs, but it turns out that some of these have hydrogen naturally occurring in the spring.
Mm,
There's a bunch in Japan around Mount
yes.
Fuji that
Yes. I've
people would
been.
go to for healing springs that had hydrogen. And so they're low part per million hydrogen. It's only like a half part per million. But a lot of clinical studies are done even at a half part per million dose. And so it would make sense to me that people soaking in those springs would see benefits
Right.
and they just wouldn't know what it was coming from. But hydrogen therapy as like a deliberate treatment is really 2008 was probably the big kickoff.
Right. Right. Very interesting. Very interesting. How about this one? This is one that I feel like is controversial. There's no such thing as too much hydrogen.
That's true because you'll just burp it out or fart it
Right.
out
Right.
and your body won't absorb it. So you can't overdose on it, but you know, once you've absorbed all you can absorb and your body has all it needs, there's no reason to take more. So, but yeah, you can't overdose, but there's a certain amount that your body can absorb. And so that kind of balance there.
Okay. Okay.
It's not like you could get past 100% of the hydrogen need you have, right? You
Right.
can only get 100% of it.
Right, right. The next few we've kind of talked about a bit, but I'd love your true or false answer on a few of these. So, hydrogen water can directly impact your gut health.
That's 100% true. I don't know if I even mentioned that as a benefit, but that's one of the first things that people see and one of the biggest benefits people see. I've heard a lot of people, there's studies on this too, but a lot of people that have purchased bottles will report back like I had the worst acid reflux ever, no matter what I took, the over the counter stuff, prescription stuff, I still had terrible acid reflux, keeping me up at night. And then they drink 3 or 4 bottles a day of hydrogen water and it goes away.
Wow.
And that's huge for people, right? Like that's one of those annoying things that is real suffering that causes real damage. But gut health restoration, with some people, when they start taking hydrogen water, we think it's about 10%. They'll have a really strong cleanse when they first start hydrogen water. And their gut health then resets. And so with those users, we often hear either it was constantly constipated and now that's fixed, or I always had to run to the bathroom and now that's fixed. And so it resets the gut health. So
Interesting.
hydrogen is absolutely huge for gut health. And I think that's key because all the other things you're doing have to be absorbed through the gut. And so if you can improve the health of your gut, hydrogen complements all the other things you may be doing for your health. So it makes your vitamins get absorbed better, your clean eating, your food, your nutrients, all of those are going to be more readily absorbed as you improve your gut health.
Absolutely. This next one, hydrogen water can help reduce oxidative stress.
Yeah, that's one of the main things that gets studied is very powerful antioxidant. And so and the importance of that is growing every year. We learn more and more about what the problems oxidative stress causes. And yeah, people read these studies like resveratrol, right? So red
Yes.
wine has
Yep.
some in
Yep.
it, and
Yep.
then people are like, "Oh yeah, I always drink wine because it's good for you."
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
not exactly, but it is a good justification, right? If I'm the guy selling the wine, I'm going to put that out there. And the same with chocolate, and
Chocolate.
I think
Yep.
there's a whole
Coffee.
bunch of others. Someone's going to do a study that, you know, those chocolate muffins at Costco are antioxidant or
Yeah.
something. But back to the claims, right? Uh, but hydrogen's very, very powerful antioxidant. The hydrogen wants to bind with the oxygen, just in the form of water already, right? They're attracted to each other. I don't know if I could justify saying it's the most powerful. That may be true, but I'd have to look it up. But it really, really wants to bind to oxygen.
Very interesting. This last one in our true or false, wellness trends often move faster than science.
That's interesting. It's hard to answer that because a lot of the trends are based on science.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of the wellness trends, they're taking science, like really bleeding edge science, and trying to create a therapy around it before
Right.
it's really ready for the mainstream. So uh, I would say for sure wellness trends outpace science awareness. Like
Mm.
before the general public knows about it, there's a wellness trend that's pushing it. And then there's always fake trends that have nothing to do with science. But most of them are looking at really early studies and then trying to make some solution based on that study.
Very, very interesting. Love it. Now we're gonna move to my next part, which I love this part. This is our rapid fire where we get to ask you
Okay.
questions and we're looking for like very short sentences. This is actually a lot of the questions that I have today are to just get to know you more. You've done
Okay.
so much in entrepreneurship, wellness, business. Want to know kind of what makes you tick. So let me to dive in. The first one is what's your favorite wellness routine for energy?
Well, one thing you will need to know about me is I'm not good at short answers. So,
It's okay. We
yeah.
we want to hear all the
So,
things.
my perfect day, my days that go the absolute best, I get awesome sleep. Sleep is kind of a foundation for everything. I keep a hydrogen water bottle by my bed and I run it before I go to bed so that when I wake up in the morning, I drink it right away.
Cool.
And then I will do a cold plunge. I only do a
You
minute.
do. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure it even does anything for my health, but it does something for me because my days go better when I do it.
Oh,
And maybe it's willpower, eating your vegetables first, doing something hard. But I really like doing it, and my days go better when I do it. Um, and then get outside. I would say
me too.
those best energy days are that.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting outside first. I do the same. Yeah. There's something about like even just walking around the block at the beginning of the day
Mhm.
that my mental clarity is a lot
Yep.
sharper and I just feel better about sitting down to tackle the day. Whereas if I don't do that, I just jump on calls. I don't
Yep.
know. I'm struggling by 2 o'clock,
Yep.
I notice.
Yeah. Totally true. Totally true. And I've started doing something. It's hard to do when you're on a podcast, right? But a lot of my calls, I work from home and I'm on the phone a lot. And a couple months ago, when it started to warm up here, I was like, I could just go outside and do these
That's what
calls.
I do too. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
That's what I
So I
do.
just wander around the yard and
Yep.
talk on the phone,
Yep. I do
walk
that.
down and get the mail, that sort of thing.
Yep.
So,
I do that too. Yeah, walking meetings all the time.
Yep. Get your steps in, get you
Yes,
outside,
yes.
and you know, you seems like the meetings go better when you're standing up and
Agree.
moving and your energy's better. So,
I agree. Yeah,
yeah.
it just feels more natural than, I don't know, sitting inside all day in a shining screen just seems off, but that's me, just me.
Yeah. Have you seen the Kevin Nealon podcast that he does
No,
where
I
he
have
goes
not.
hiking with comedians?
No, I have not.
It's
Oh, I
really
love that.
interesting.
Oh, I love
They just go
that.
on a hike together and they film it, and the
100%.
film quality's horrible, but the interview
Oh,
and the questions are
yeah.
interesting, right?
So
And
fun. Yeah, and
yeah,
you go outside. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. I might have to do that.
yeah.
I love it. What is your one daily habit, wellness habit that you won't skip? That you're like, every day, I got to do this.
My water for sure.
Yeah.
So I've tested this. So because it's an interrupter, I was trying to test to see if I was getting used to the hydrogen water, and so the benefit would be diminished because I'd grown accustomed to it. And so I chose some days where I didn't have any hydrogen water, and those weren't good. My body
Oh,
needs it, and they were not good days for me. And so that's like my one thing that is my always my go-to.
go to.
Water first thing in the morning. And like I said, I try to do three a day, and really I try to do three before like 2 or 3 o'clock.
Okay, interesting. Very, very interesting. How about snacks? Like, what's your go-to clean health snack?
I don't snack a lot.
No. Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, reaching for water when you want a snack is always a good move, right?
Right,
Because
right.
sometimes your
That's so
body
true.
confuses dehydration with a craving. So you drink some water and the craving goes away. I love fruit. I'm a real fruit fanatic. Okay, so actually, I did think of this. I love to garden.
Oh, no way.
We're a little bit in the suburbs here. It's a little bit country. We've got horses and fields around us. And so we've got
Beautiful.
an acre. My favorite go-to snack is like something fresh that I pick and eat before it even gets in the house, like cherry tomatoes or strawberries or blackberries. Oh my gosh, that stuff, that's amazing. And if I could have that all the time, all year round, the taste difference is just
Is
so,
unreal.
even like the
Unreal.
organic best groceries you can buy,
Yeah,
the taste difference
100%.
from your own garden is huge.
It's huge.
So, yeah,
Huge.
so I love that. If that's my go-to, well, not necessarily my go-to, but my preferred if I can get it. Like a peach right off the tree that's warm from the sun and perfectly ripe so that when you touch it, it falls into your hand. I mean,
Oh,
best thing in the
you're
world.
making me like, for me, I grew up on the East Coast, so during apple picking season, to like go and
Mm,
pick the apple right from the tree and bite into it.
yeah.
Then you go buy a store-bought apple and you're like, this is horrible. This is disgusting.
Yeah, it tastes like air.
Yeah, you're like,
Just tastes like air.
what is
Yeah.
yuck?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yep.
Oh, I'm curious, what is
Same, and
one?
berries are the same thing. Berries
Yeah,
are
yeah, the blueberries from
raspberries
the
from the
vine.
store look like raspberries, but they don't
Yes,
taste like anything.
they don't taste
And
like
you get a
anything.
raspberry fresh off the bush, and you're
Right.
just like, wow, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
And strawberries too. Strawberries are like, this is like, they taste like nearly water sometimes from the
Yeah,
store. And then you pick it off
yeah,
the vine, you're like, wow, this is so flavorful.
yeah.
So
I'm
good.
like, every time I eat one, I'm like, this is the best strawberry I've ever had. And then I eat
Yeah,
another one, I'm like, this is the
literally.
best strawberry I've
Same.
ever had.
Yeah, same. Me
Uh,
too.
Pineapple in Hawaii, when
Yeah,
they pick it right there at the plantation and hand
very
it to
nice.
you, and it's just like, what is this?
It's so amazing. Then you get one from the store, it tastes
Amazing.
like soap. You're like, what is
Yeah,
going on?
yeah,
It's so true. Oh yeah, fresh fruit. I think it's like that to me is also wealth. Like being able to, like
yeah,
eat
yeah.
fresh fruit is just wow. It's a game changer. Absolute game changer.
Yeah, especially like when you're young and poor and you can't afford anything at the grocery
Yeah,
store and you're like eating the worst stuff, you eat ramen noodles or whatever. And like once you get a little bit of extra money and you can buy like good food,
good food is such
yeah,
a game changer. It
you just
really
feel rich, right?
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, you do, and you're feeding your body with rich nutrients, too. So it's a whole. Agree. I totally agree. I think that that's so so important in so many
It's one
communities.
of those areas where we've really broken society.
I agree.
This is a total aside, but I
Yeah.
read a whole bunch of books on World War II and how it
Right.
changed the way we live, right?
Right. Right.
And most of the food stuff that we're complaining about now are choices that we made so that we could feed soldiers and feed the world during and after World War II.
Mm,
Like canned goods, preservatives,
Right. Right.
All of those kinds of things were necessary to be able to feed the troops and to feed Europe while they rebuilt, and Japan too. We're sending food everywhere. And yeah, maybe it wasn't the perfect thing, but at least it got there and it wasn't rotted, right?
Right. Right.
And we never stopped doing it. So when the need went away, we never stopped doing it. Big food, factory food was developed to feed the world during the war, and that never went away. And so we need to get back to like how we ate and what we did before the war. Or even oils, like cooking oil. That was
Seasonal.
not a thing before World War II.
Right.
People would cook with tallow and other things, and they needed all of the tallow and all of those natural fats to make glycerin for gunpowder. And so people weren't allowed to use those. They had to turn all those in, and the government would use all of it to make gunpowder. And that was great because we had to defeat the Nazis, but we never went away from it. When the war ended and the
I
need
didn't
ended,
know
we
that.
never went back to the traditional way we did it.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. Yeah, and it's so unfortunate because you have whole communities that you go for miles and there's nothing but processed,
Yeah.
convenience
Yeah.
store
Food
food.
deserts
Yeah,
that they
food
call them or
deserts.
whatever, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
But
really
even not in poor communities, like you go to these places, Whole Foods is great, but
right.
it's not as good as your garden,
Yeah,
right?
so true. So true. Percent. Yeah, and like that is to me like the new form of wealth, like having fresh produce that that you know what's in it, you know
Hmm.
there's no pesticides, there's whatever nonsense is happening in mass produced groceries, you really can control for that. I think that like there should be a movement more for that. But anyway, I could get on a soapbox about it because I think it's so important.
Yeah, I mean, let's geek out for one more second on
Yes,
it.
I love it. I love it.
There's something like therapeutic and meditative about like digging your hands in the dirt.
Agree. Oh, 100%.
Like I remember when other jobs, when things were so stressful, before I could go in the house, like I couldn't bring that stressful me into the house, right? So
Right,
before
right,
I go in, I would stop by the garden, pull some weeds, pick
right,
some things.
right.
All of a sudden, you're reset. You go in and you're just totally reset.
Agree.
There's something about it.
Agree. I feel like one of my favorite memories, I'm gonna nerd out too, helping my parents in the garden. We would have strawberries and squash, and being able to go out there. We had a mulberry tree growing up, so my sister and I would, and to be able to not only know where like our food was coming from, but then to be outside and play too. And like, hey, we're so fun. I mean, such
Yeah,
truly
you're
a
getting the
joy.
sunshine,
Yeah,
fresh air,
truly a
good
joy.
food, like all of it's awesome.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Curious, what is the one wellness goal that you're working on right now?
That's a good question. I am constantly experimenting, and um, like my big problems are in the rearview mirror with my arthritis and my weight and some of those things. And now it's like fine tuning, like how good could I feel? And
Mm,
so, yeah, I'm trying to like make my arthritis like I went from using mega doses of steroids probably every month or more when I was really struggling to now that I'm on hydrogen water, my lows aren't nearly as low and my flare-ups are way less frequent, like twice a year instead of 12 times a year. And the usage of steroids to get through those, they have these things, these dose packs. You'd go like 6 pills day one,
right,
5 pills day two.
right.
You work your way down. I haven't had to use any of those in multiple years. And so that's really
Wow.
awesome. And now it's like, how do I make it so that I don't have any flare ups in a year?
Right.
How do I make it so I don't have, uh, you know, and like my body, I'm way, way better, but I still can't run. I used to run a lot. I still can't run. The pounding and the inflammation that comes from the running, my body will flare up from that. And I'd love to get back to a point where I could be that active again.
Right. Right.
I don't know if it's possible. I don't want to do like the Brian Johnson thing where
Yeah.
I become like a alien
Right.
experiment or something. But I would love to like keep improving and tweaking and like learning what works perfectly for me.
I love that. I think that's a healthy approach. I love that you brought up Brian Johnson because I, watch all the things he does and man, like I feel so conflicted to be honest. It's like, you want to optimize your health, but then at what point at least for me, I think about what point I would feel like I'm no longer just living freely, and just feel like
Yeah.
it's taking over my life, the routines, the regimens, the pills, the things, I don't know. It's
If
really,
he's happy, if that's what he
yeah,
loves to do,
totally.
I'm all for
More
it.
power to you. Agree.
There's a YouTuber I watch, James Pumphrey, who he used to be on a channel called Donut Media. Now he's got his own channel called Speed. And it's mostly a car YouTuber.
Okay.
Like a month ago, he did 30 wellness things in 30 days, and he would add a new thing each day. So by day 30, they're doing 30 different things for wellness.
Right. Right.
And it took over his life, right? And he was saying how much he hated it and how he wanted to just like start over. But there were things he found in experimenting with those that he will always do. I can't remember what he said, but there were, and it's probably different for every person, but he did the red light and the cold plunge and did all of those things. And from that, he was like, here are the things that made the most difference to me that I'll keep doing. And I think you don't have to do them in an experiment like that, but running some experiments on yourself and finding what works and what optimizes you and makes you the happiest and the best you can be, I think is really worthwhile. Okay, so the one thing I am working on is I'm a real night owl and consistent bedtime.
Me too. Me too.
If I could get to bed at 10 and go to sleep, I would crush every day.
Same.
But sometimes I've got a really good idea at 9:59
Yeah.
and I'll be up till 2. And so
Same.
yeah,
Guilty as charged right here.
yep. So and then I pay for it the next day, but that's maybe the one thing I need to work on the most right now is consistent bedtimes.
It's hard. I feel like it comes with the entrepreneurial wiring. Like you're like just sometimes on fire
Yeah.
and then,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, 3 a.m. you're like,
Yeah.
what is going on?
I, yeah, once it starts churning, I know I won't be
Yeah.
able to fall asleep anyway.
Yeah,
So
same.
like once it starts churning, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's I just got to do. And so I wouldn't be able to sleep if I had that idea in my brain anyway. So I've figured out some tools for myself with my ADD or whatever that I can cope. Like I make a not to do list. That's very helpful.
Yes.
Things I know that are important that I'm not going to do, write them down. I'm not doing these, and I'm deliberate about it.
It's a great one.
And those kinds of things are helpful. But every once in a while, it's just like this is just happening right now. I'm not sleeping tonight,
I agree.
So
Same.
yeah.
Same. I'm
So
glad I'm not alone,
yeah.
in the struggle. I would like to move on to our next part. Also a part I love, breaking down wild trends. So we hunt TikTok, Instagram, all the social media platforms and
Okay.
find the wildest trends. And I would love for you to just comment on some of these. So the first one is hydrogen water versus alkaline water. I feel like there's like a beef between, the two. What are your
So
thoughts? What's the science?
I'm grateful for alkaline water because it led people to hydrogen water. So there was that whole alkaline water trend. People were feeling benefits, but when scientists would isolate for the alkalinity of the water, they would see no benefit. And then um, the unintended consequence of using electricity to make the water alkaline, it would produce some hydrogen gas. And so the it can't do that consistently. Once the plates get corroded on an alkaline machine, it no longer produces hydrogen gas. It takes like 6 or 8 weeks. But you'll hear that a lot from people where they start drinking alkaline water and they feel awesome for 8 weeks, and then those benefits go away. But because of the chemistry in your gut, the alkaline water is great for acid reflux. It's great for a few things. It can make coffee taste better. Some plants need alkaline water, but your gut is going to change. It's going to correct it automatically. So it doesn't make it past your stomach and like no measured clinical benefits. And so all the research, the studies are where the evidence is, right? 1,000 studies on hydrogen water and there's alkaline can't do that. Now, some people like how it tastes. I don't think it's
Yeah,
harming you if
right,
you like how it
right.
tastes, like a coffee additive to make the coffee not so acidic. Um, but the health benefits are not real.
Interesting, interesting. How about this one? I just two things I keep seeing on TikTok. DIY ozone therapy and the hyperbaric oxygen therapy. What do you think about both of those? Are they dangerous, beneficial? Are they fads? Are they fake?
Are people doing DIY hydrogen or DIY hyperbaric?
So DIY ozone therapy I've seen on TikTok, and then just also people are talking about hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So different
Ozone
thoughts.
can be pretty dangerous. I didn't know people were doing that.
That's what I thought too.
I've got an ozone machine that I use for deodorizing the house and the
Okay,
cars and stuff like
okay,
that.
okay, okay.
Very effective for
Right,
killing odors. And
right,
but it's if you're exposed to it for very long, like when you do that, you have to leave the house, right? It'll
right,
make your throat burn like crazy and make you
right.
cough. So I don't know how they're doing it. You'd have to be very careful.
Yeah,
I
dangerous,
know
right?
some holistic medicine doctors that are using ozone treatments.
Right, right.
And I think in a setting like that, where you have an expert that's controlling it, it's probably fine. Yeah, that doing it on your own at home makes me very nervous.
Yeah,
I didn't
okay,
know that was
that's what
happening.
I felt. Yeah, yes. And then the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, what are your thoughts? Is that a fad, or do you think there's actually merit in that?
So I've never done hyperbaric myself.
Okay,
I the science on it is really sound.
right, okay, okay,
There's
okay.
some pretty amazing things that come from hyperbaric. I'm not sure if it's fully understood, but you can get hyperbaric treatments from the hospital now.
Right,
You
right,
can
right.
um, all sorts of things. From what I've heard, and this may not be true, but some of the like lower cost machines that people use at home just don't have the pressure. They can't get up to the pressures
Okay,
necessary to prove a real benefit.
right.
Hyperbaric is very, very sound as a mechanism. Like we all thought Michael Jackson was crazy when he was doing it in the
Yeah,
80s.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It turns out he's just way ahead of his time, right? So, in fact, there was a kid in a neighborhood we used to live in who drowned at the lake, and he was nonverbal. They thought he was going to die and thought he was going to be brain dead, all those things. And they did a bunch of hyperbaric treatments on him. And he went from like totally catatonic, not being able to interact with anyone, to he can say some words, he can communicate, he can look around the room, navigate his wheelchair. Um, so we went from like
Wow.
vegetable state to like paraplegic almost. So that was unbelievable result. And
Unbelievable.
there's countless stories like that and research like that on hyperbaric. So
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I keep seeing the two. Either someone trying, I do DIY ozone therapy, and then also people talking separately videos about hyperbaric. So anyway, this last thing I want to ask you, also have seen it on TikTok. People with hydrogen infused skincare. Is this next level or is it a marketing gimmick?
I'd have to look at their formulation. The studies on hydrogen and skin are really awesome. Like I said, the hydrogen baths have unbelievable results. We've been working on developing some skincare lines where you will have a formula that you can put on your skin and it'll generate hydrogen near the surface of the skin. I would have to see how they're doing it because you can't generate hydrogen before the fact. So if it's a two-part formula and one part's an acid and one part's magnesium base, and they're having you combine those to apply to the skin, it could be legitimate and it would probably work really well. If it's a one-part formula, then it's fake.
Interesting. Good to know. I'm going to be looking on TikTok for the ones that I've been seeing again and like see what they're trying to do. Very interesting. Good to know. Good to know.
I guess I'll put one caveat on that. You could mix it beforehand if it was kept under very high pressures.
The
So
pressures.
if it was
Okay.
coming in a bottle that was pressurized,
Right.
like a little oxygen bottle that you,
Right. Right.
I don't
Right.
know,
Right. Right. Right.
then it could be pre-mixed and the hydrogen would stay suspended in the solution. But anything else, it would outgas. Hydrogen's the smallest element. It's one on the periodic scale, right? So it'll go right through plastic, right through glass. You can't hold it. Like when they fill up the rockets with hydrogen as a fuel, um, they'll lose 10% of the fuel before the rocket takes off because it's just outgassing.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Yeah. So
yeah.
very interesting. Okay. All right. I'm going to like be scouting these products. I want to move on to our next section, which is our Reddit rabbit hole. So we scanned Reddit for a few questions for you. I'm going to ask you two questions from Reddit. So this first one was actually found in the public health subreddit. And this is something that I've actually personally debated with, and I'm glad that this person raised this. So, is big wellness the new big pharma? And they go on to say, we
Mhm.
often hear about big pharma and its influence on healthcare, but have we considered the growing impact of big wellness? The global wellness industry is now valued at $6.3 trillion, dwarfing the 1.6 trillion pharmaceutical industry and vastly exceeding the $78.5 billion global vaccine market. While wellness can promote healthy lifestyles, its unchecked corporate expansion raises concerns about its influence. What are your thoughts? I love this question. Very interesting.
Yeah, I haven't thought about this before, but I would say I'm not as concerned about it because it's fractured.
Mm,
So pharma has consolidated and they have power. There's two pharmaceutical lobbyists for each congressman or senator in Washington. You know, they've got like institutional power. They've structured the FDA and other governing bodies to keep out anyone else from entering the industry. And so there's power there that doesn't exist in the wellness industry, and the wellness industry is more fractured. I mean, when you look at big pharma, that 1.7 trillion is among mainly five companies, right?
right. It's true.
And in wellness, that might be 5,000 companies or more. And so I would get very concerned probably if you started to see a lot of consolidation where you were getting these really big, powerful wellness brands that were aggregating and having lobbying power and all sorts of things. I think that's where the corruption can really come in. There's a very interesting trend where the distrust of pharma is on the rise and people want to
Totally.
try wellness products.
Right.
I'm surprised that the industry is that big. That really is.
That's what.
I wonder what they're including in that.
Me
They
too.
might be including all organic food
They might. Right.
and then, it's like, what do you mean wellness?
Exactly.
How are you defining that?
Right.
But um, yeah, if it was starting to consolidate into a few big players who were really
Yes.
powerful, then my concerns would go up. But it's so fractured and there's so many little, and there's definitely a trend in this way. Like functional medicine is a huge trend. And I think will be a big disruptor over the next 10 years, where you're going to a doctor who's a functional medicine doctor who's prescribing peptides and pharmaceuticals and supplements and hydrogen water and trying to give you more of a holistic approach to your health. I think that trend is going to be huge. And as soon as someone cracks the code and starts doing this the right way,
Agree.
the big healthcare companies will start consolidating those and rolling that up because they'll see that they can make a lot of money doing it. And that's bound to happen. But yeah, I think the fracture is what keeps it safe for a minute.
Agree. Agree. Yeah, very disjointed and also can be very confusing to the consumer because, trying to figure out who you need to go to. Do I go to, naturopath? When do I need to go to this,
Yeah.
Ayurveda person, whatever it may be? Like there's still a lot of education that needs to be done to help people to get there, which
Yeah.
actually,
And
oh, go
but
ahead.
also on the opposite side of that, with the confusion and innovation are you can't have one without the other.
So
You
true.
can't innovate without causing some confusion and some
Right.
disruption in the marketplace. And
Right.
so it's a sign that there's some really healthy and interesting things happening because people are innovating like crazy. But that also leads to the confusion because it's not normalized yet.
Which actually leads me to our second Reddit rabbit hole question, which is a little bit related. So this was in the anti-consumption subreddit. And this person just drops a question: are supplements just another form of wellness consumerism? What are your thoughts there?
What do you mean by that? What is the
I've
what's the
heard,
concern that they're addressing there?
I'm going to throw what I'm my interpretation because I've actually heard people say this in they're like, I was talking to another entrepreneur who completely went off supplements. Was like, I'm not going to be doing any supplementation. I think it's a scam. I feel like people are just trying to sell me things. I'm going to do, they became, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking. They went keto and then they became carnivore. And they're like, I'm getting everything I need from eating meat and I don't need supplements. It's just, they're just trying to make me spend money. And, I paused. It was really interesting, very smart person. We have these debates. And I was shocked by his stance on this. So
Okay,
yeah,
so I'll throw in a quote that I have said many, many times.
right.
But specialty diets and specialty wellness are the designer genes of the 80s.
That's what. Thank you.
And it's a flex. For
Yeah,
most people, it's a flex,
totally. It's a
right?
flex.
Like, why do you buy, I don't know, designer stuff? Why do you buy Louis Vuitton?
Right.
It's got the logo all over it. That's why you buy it.
Right.
You want people
Right.
to know you can afford it.
Right.
And people don't do those really specialized things and stay quiet about it. They do them because they want people to see that they can do them and they can afford to do them.
You see me over here, and I'm like, I'm not trying to knock anyone. Do you do you, boo? But like, yes, it becomes, and actually, you start to see a kind of like hive mind effect. Like one person does it, and they're talking about it all the time, then the next person, the next person,
Mhm.
and if you feel great, amazing. But I agree with you. Like people aren't typically like hush hush about what they're doing. Typically,
Yeah. But there are some really cool things coming.
totally.
Wellness for wellness sake. There's some really cool things coming. So I can do a guy about a new mitochondrial test that's really easy to administer. In the past, those have been like a muscle core sample, so no one ever did it. But they have a blood test. There's the genetic tests you can do. And being able to know what medicines your body needs by monitoring your
Yes.
genetics and your mitochondrial function, and then only choosing the supplements that actually work, that your body actually needs. Because if you don't know, it's like random acts of supplementation,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you don't know if it's working or not, or if your body needs it or not. And I think that happens a lot. There's a lot of waste of people taking things they don't need. And so as the testing improves and the access to the testing improves, there's a real possibility for savings and health improvement because people will choose to supplement with the things their body needs to supplement with and ignore the rest.
Agree. Agree. Agree.
And I
Agree.
don't know if you've ever tried the carnivore diet or keto.
Have.
They're hard to do, but I did feel pretty good.
Yeah, that's why I'm
So,
like, hey, do you? Because and also
yeah,
everyone's wired differently. Their body needs different things. So, hey, more power to you. But it does feel like a lot of times people jump on a bandwagon and yeah,
yeah.
it feels more like a flex and I'm doing it because this is what's working for me. And you get people who get to that state and that just is their life. But yeah,
I've got another friend who's a really funny guy, and he says all the time when we talk about something, he's like, "Is it trending? I only do things that are trending."
I love it. What a food.
He's making fun of all those people
Yeah,
that live like that,
yeah,
but
yeah,
a lot of
totally,
people do that.
totally,
They just want to
totally,
be a part
totally.
of something cool, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I know we're just about at time, but if you have a few minutes, I would love to jump to our last section, which is what's in your metaphorical bag. I know you
Okay,
showed us some cool things, so if you have some other cool things to show us, that would be amazing.
I'm pretty basic. Maybe I'll extend my bag a little. I When I leave the house, my eyes are very sensitive because of my arthritis, so I always have sunglasses.
Okay, okay.
I actually hate sunglasses, but I always wear them outside. And then I always have my flask with me, and I always have a water bottle with me. Um, let's see, AirPods. I have
Yes.
two sets of AirPods. I use these so much that I go through about four of these a year because
No
I
way.
drop them or I don't take very good care of them, but I always have two at a time. So I have one charging while I'm using the others,
Right, right,
and then
right,
I swap them when the battery goes dead and charge the others.
right.
So I'm on the phone a lot. The iPad with my pencil here.
Yeah, yeah, key. Yep.
The ability to write on the screen is great for
Yes,
me for note taking and
yes.
thinking through things. And so, oh, and then actually, I am a geek. So these are things that are just right here because they are kind of in my bag. But my Starlink, this is
Oh, no way. Oh, how
my Starlink
cool. Yeah,
Roam.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you've used one of these, but
No,
it
I
gives you the
haven't.
freedom
Let's do it.
to pretend like you're at work.
I
So,
love it.
so these are, it's just a little guy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So
So
cool.
that goes all over the place with us because we can throw it on the car
Yep, be
or
dialed in, ready to go. Yep.
take it everywhere. And then maybe the last thing that I would encourage people to try that's like in my bag all the time are the new AI tools. I've become a real power user of AI. There's the AI agents where you can, like the first generation is asking ChatGPT questions or interacting
Right,
with it.
right.
The agent model is giving these more complex assignments and sending them out in the world to do things. There's one called Replit that's a
I love
software development
Replit.
agent,
I'm,
and it's
yep,
amazing what it can do, right?
crazy.
So if you're like thinking, I've always wanted to start a business, but I don't know how to build a website, Replit will build your website with you not knowing anything about code. You just tell it what you want it to be, and it'll start building it. And then Yeah. So when AI tools first came out, people treated them like they were going to do your homework for you or they were going to write the paper for you. And they're not good at that. Um, they don't function very well that way. What they are is they leverage your brain, and just like any other tool we've had in the past. And so they can make your homework better and get it done faster. Just like when I remember I was in college in '96, I graduated high school and I was taking classes my freshman year. Like half the people at school didn't know what Google was. And I'm like doing my research, doing all the stuff on Google, and I'm done 10 times faster than
Right,
everybody else. And they're like, how are you doing all this?
right,
I'm like, just Google it. It's not that big of a deal. Just look
right.
up the sources on Google. They're going to the library and doing the card catalog.
Yeah, I remember the card
And
catalog.
yeah, the Dewey Decimal System. I actually just watched a video on the Dewey Decimal System
Oh,
a
no
couple
way.
weeks ago.
Oh,
And
no
it's a
way.
really smart system. I never understood it, but it's pretty brilliant. And I'm like, I get it now, but I'll
Right,
never need it. But now I get it.
right.
But and ChatGPT and Grok and all these tools are the exact same now. Their ability to generate images, to help you research, refine your ideas, write text. They're not great at connecting ideas. They're not great at metaphor. They're not great at storytelling in the way that humans really tell a story. But they are a major shortcut on research and learning and getting you smart about something. And so I'm highly dependent on those now.
Me
It's
too.
life changer. So
Same.
if you don't know them, you're going to get left behind.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, what my other company, the marketing agency, we're working on building a tool for some of the fractional teams that we work with. And it would have taken us a year probably to stand up the tool. I myself, I'm pretty non-technical. I just know basic like HTML, CSS front end stuff. I mean, I was able to knock something out pretty quick in one of those 2 a.m. nights. I was like, this is
Yeah.
wild. This is crazy what you're able to do. Everything
Yeah.
from
I
like,
used to do a lot of coding and I
yeah,
kind of got left behind as I got
yeah,
busy. And I really enjoy it, but I got left behind. I didn't keep up on the latest
right,
tools.
right.
And, so you'd hire developers to do these things. And now with Replit, I feel like I've been unleashed because
Same.
not dependent on finding the right guy and then waiting for him to build it.
Right. Me too.
And I'm doing it from my phone. And so in between calls, while I'm waiting for something, I jump on and give it a task, fix this, build this, improve this. Um, and you know, just 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. I probably put, 30 or 40 minutes into it a day, and you're building something amazing. Build an app, build a website, build a special piece of software. I created an app the other day that would go scrape LinkedIn for a buddy that he has the sales thing he's trying to do and he
Right.
didn't know how to get leads. And I'm like, dude, just go do this.
Yeah, that's
And
what,
he's like, what are you talking
yep.
about? And I'm like, I'll do it. I build a scraper. It goes to LinkedIn, looks for very specific types of people, and then connects him to those people.
Amazing.
And it took it an hour to do that.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
If you're not
So it's
using it in
really,
the
really cool.
sales process, you're honestly screwed. Like what you can do in terms of what we're doing on our agency side in terms of outbound outreach, I would have had to hire 10 salespeople where we're able to stand up agents and just have them drive a lot of our outbound. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and the training is big too because you
Yeah,
you have to teach it, right? You have to invest in
right,
it.
right,
But I've spent a lot of time teaching it about me, about my family,
right.
about,
Same.
interests in the things. And so now I can say, hey, I need to come up with a birthday gift for my wife. What suggestions do you have? And it's like, well, she likes this, this, and this is coming up, and maybe you could try these things as a gift, right? And so just all those kinds of things are amazing. And then I always tell, like our sales guys, I'm like, before you get on a call, jump on ChatGPT, ask it about the company and the person you're talking
Right,
to and what they would be
right,
most interested in our pitch.
right.
It's a huge time
It's a
saver.
huge time saver. Huge. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Oh, Josh, I could talk to you literally all day. I feel like we could like nerd out on like
Yeah.
10 million rabbit holes.
We're, we're going to stop recording, and next thing you know, we'll be talking about alien abductions and conspiracy theories. So,
110% actually, because I have some theories on that as well. Thank you so much. You are just an incredible, incredible wealth of knowledge and, just really cool. Congratulations on all the success with
yeah, this was a
Echo.
lot of fun.
So much fun. It's truly a joy. And just your health transformation is so inspiring.
Well,
Just
thank you.
congratulations. Seriously. I can't even imagine how hard. I know so many people with arthritis, with autoimmune disorders, and it takes over your life. And to be able to really find a way to transform your health is just no easy feat. So just congratulations on all that you've done. Really
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll have to have you back on as you guys launch new products, by the way, because I'm endlessly fascinated.
Yeah, and we'll just keep you in the loop. We'll send you stuff to try as it comes out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.